Even on a cold weekday night, the police department in this small Indiana town have their hands full.
People don't understand sometimes why we're constantly out here stopping vehicles for small violations, and some people get angry about that. But one thing I'd urge you is that we're trying to keep your community safe. This right here is a prime example of how we do our jobs and how we get drugs off the street.
Elwood, Indiana is no stranger to the drug epidemic.
Our main thing is methamphetamine. I know that heroin hit a lot of the county. It hit Elwood for a brief period of time, but for whatever reason it didn't stick, and they went back to the methamphetamine.
And the city is leaning on the police department to help curb the crisis. With a population of just 8,500 people, Elwood has an arrest rate 4 times higher than the national average. Over 70% of the arrests are directly drug-related, and Captain Comer says many stem from routine traffic stops.
The initial reason why Officer Nazarode pulled this vehicle over was for a license plate light. Once he got the vehicle stopped and approached the vehicle, Detective Traylor started talking to the passenger. The passenger opened the door to the car, and they could immediately smell the marijuana coming out of the car. A lot of times that's how we're getting drugs off the streets, are just routine traffic stops just like this.
But for a rural town trying to arrest their way out of an epidemic, many times resources are used on repeat offenders.
Unfortunately, we have, I guess, what you call frequent flyers. We deal with the same people quite a bit over and over, so we get to know them and get to know what they drive.
Which is why Captain Comer pulled over the driver of this green truck.
About 4 months ago, he overdosed. We responded to a gas station where he was a wheel slumper or passed out behind the wheel, and he ended up getting transported to the hospital. I don't know that he'll admit that he has addiction, but we've had circumstances and run-ins with him in the last year or so that would lead me to believe that he does.
License suspended.
He's been suspended 6 times. And I called one of our K-9 officers too to come assist me to just do a walk around the vehicle to make sure there's no drug activity or anything.
And again, the standard traffic stop led to a search for drugs.
What's the liquid in here?
Pee.
Is it pee?
That's for my kids.
To pass the drug test?
Huh? Yeah, it's smoke pot.
Okay, so there's probably been pot in the car?
The heavy amount of police action in the town is recognized by its citizens, and they think it's making a difference.
I finally feel in the last few years they're finally getting on top of it. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
But the officers know they won't be able to have a positive influence on the epidemic on their own.
It can't just be law enforcement, because again, all we can do is get people put into the system. Like making arrests, they get into the system where they can get certain treatment opportunities. That has to be carried over once it's way past our side of law enforcement.